Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're peeling back the layers on something we think we understand, the silent language, nonverbal communication.
Yeah, it's perhaps the biggest communication myth there is, really.
Yeah.
We just assume that because we're all human, our bodies all speak the same language.
Right. You go abroad, you expect a language barrier with words, but you figure, you can at least nod or shake your head. Your body can do the talking.
That's the assumption. And, well, that brings us right to the core question for this deep dive.
Are those really basic, high-stakes signals, like a head nod for yes or a shake for no, are they actually universal? Can you rely on them?
Most of us, and I mean globally, we operate on what you could call the Western default. Up and down is yes, side to side is no. It feels almost instinctual, like a reflex.
It feels completely baked in, so much so that if you see someone do the opposite, your brain just sort of short circuits. But that's where the sources we looked at really start to pick things apart.
They do. To really get a cross-cultural communication, you have to throw that idea out. You have to accept that even just saying yes with your head is learned. It's not a given.
So before we get into the really complex stuff, let's start with a quick geography lesson, because that idea of a universal nod gets disproven pretty fast.
It really does. I mean, take countries like Bulgaria or Greece, Albania.
In those places, the movements we take for granted are often just flipped, reversed.
Exactly. In parts of the Balkans, what looks to us like a nod, that up and down motion, that actually means no.
And the shake are no.
That's their yes. And sometimes it's paired with a little eye flutter or a raise of the eyebrows to really confirm it.
Okay, so that's already confusing, but it's just a reversal. You can learn the new rule. But what the sources pointed to in South Asia, specifically India,
Yeah.
that's not a reversal. It's an explosion of ambiguity.
Yes. And this is where we get into what we're calling the great gesture confusion. This is where that simple binary idea of yes or no just gets completely demolished.
Okay, let's unpack this. We're talking about a very specific head movement, right? The sources call it the Indian Head Bobble, which is a perfect description.
It is. It's this very fluid, sort of rhythmic, side-to-side tilting of the head. It's woven right into the conversation.
And if you're stuck in that Western binary way of thinking, this head bobble is just sigil. It's the ultimate puzzle, because the movement itself isn't tied to one single meaning.
Not at all. It's totally divorced from a fixed meaning.
Yeah.
And when you first read the analysis, it's pretty mind-blowing.
The same exact motion can signal three totally different things.
And we're not talking about small differences like a hesitant yes versus a strong yes. We're talking about direct opposites. So that one head bobble can mean
1, yes, full enthusiastic agreement, I'm in.
2, no. A clear refusal. That's not going to work.
And 3, and this is the one that really gets people, it can mean maybe,
Mm.
or even just, I hear you, keep talking.
Right. It's an acknowledgement. So imagine you're in a negotiation. You're trying to agree on a price. Your counterpart does the bobble. You have absolutely no idea from that gesture alone if you've succeeded, failed, or if you're still talking.
The signal itself is useless on its own. So that raises the obvious question then. How does communication even work? How do people avoid just total chaos?
And that's the real leap in the source material. This is where we move to context over movement. The sources are really clear on this. The meaning isn't in the gesture itself. It's in everything happening around the gesture.
So the motion is like a blank slate. The meaning has to come from somewhere else. So what are those factors? What flips it from a yes to a no?
2 main things. First, and this is the big one, is the context of the actual conversation. You have to interpret the bobble through what was just said, your relationship, the situation.
So it's more like a confirmation of the words.
Exactly. The bobble acts like a modifier, not the statement itself. And the second factor is the speaker's tone and intonation. A slow, gentle bobble with a soft voice. That probably suggests agreement. But a sharp, fast one, maybe with a little upward inflection, that could be hesitation or even an outright no.
So you can't just watch. You have to listen, really listen. We're so used to treating body language like a separate channel, something that confirms or denies the words.
But here, you can't separate them. The gesture is completely integrated with the sound. It becomes part of the communication flow. The sources actually analyze this. They call it kind of physical punctuation.
Punctuation, that's perfect. It's not the word, it's the comma or the period. It's just saying I'm engaged or I'm processing.
Precisely. It keeps the rhythm of the interaction going without needing a full stop for a verbal uh-huh or I see. And in what anthropologists call high context cultures, that's incredibly important. Maintaining harmony and flow is often the priority.
It avoids constant interruption, so it's a really efficient system when you think about it.
It is. It's not ambiguity for its own sake. It's an efficient system for a specific style of social interaction. We in the West might look for that hard binary yes or no right away. This system prioritizes the flow.
But that very same efficiency, that sophisticated flow, it creates huge problems for an outsider. Which brings us to the practical side of this, for you, the listener.
Right, this is the so what section. If you go in with your default Western settings, you're almost guaranteed to misread the room.
Let's use an example from the sources. Imagine you're a business traveler. You've just spent 20 minutes hashing out a delivery schedule. You ask, so we're all set for the 15th.
And the person across from you smiles, gives you the head bobble, and says in a really pleasant voice, "We will see."
Okay, so to me, an outsider, the smile and the bobble, that feels like a yes. A soft yes, maybe, but we're on the right track.
You'd leave the meeting thinking the deal is basically done. But because the words were vague, "we will see," the bobble in that context likely meant, "I acknowledge your request for the 15th, but it's not happening." It was a polite denial.
And the sources explain exactly why this happens. The foreigner is paying too much attention to the physical gesture, which is the most ambiguous part, and not enough to the actual words.
Yes. You're prioritizing the wrong channel of information. We assume that when words are vague, the body will give us the real answer. But in this case, the body is designed to be just as context-dependent as the words.
The lesson here seems pretty clear. When the nonverbal cues aren't standardized, you have to default to the words and the tone. The gesture is just commentary, it's not the headline.
Exactly. And this goes way beyond just head movements, which really proves the point. Body language is not universal. I mean, think about something as simple as pointing.
With your index finger. Right, standard.
Standard for us. But in many parts of Asia and the Middle East, pointing with an index finger is seen as incredibly rude, aggressive. You might use an open hand or your thumb or even your chin. So if you go around pointing, you've just alienated everyone without saying a word.
Or even a handshake. We think that's a simple greeting.
But the pressure, the duration, it's all culture specific. A firm, confident grip in the U.S. can feel like aggression somewhere else, where a softer, longer handshake shows respect.
It all comes back to that central discovery from the head bobble. You have to just drop the assumption that you can walk into a room and read people's minds just by watching them move.
That's it. This deep dive into just one single gesture proves that these signals are learned. They're tied to specific social histories and communication styles. They are not the universal language we thought they were.
It really forces you to re-examine every single cue you take for granted. We started this thinking, okay, maybe yes and no are a safe bet, but they're not. They can be reversed or, even more confusingly, completely ambiguous.
And understanding that, it's not just about, avoiding an awkward moment. It's about changing how you think about communication itself. You have to see it as a whole. Package words, tone, context, gesture, all working together.
Which leaves us with a final provocative thought for you to take away. If the most basic, fundamental signals for yes and no can be so wildly different across cultures, how many other things are we misinterpreting every day?
What about eye contact? Making it signals respect in one culture and a direct challenge in another. Or how you sit, or how close you stand to someone. Every single interaction is a complex dance of these invisible rules.
So challenge yourself to think about what signals you just assume are universal, and what might happen when those unspoken rules completely break down. Think about that the next time you nod your head. Thanks for diving deep with us.